165 dead, 750,000 evacuated. That's the human toll when Pakistan's richest province became a watery graveyard as 3 rivers turned into liquid highways of destruction in August 2025. The economic powerhouse that feeds 220 million Pakistanis, home to Lahore, Multan, and agricultural heartlands that produce 68% of the nation's wheat. But on August 26th, when India opened the floodgates of its dams, Punjab's prosperity became its greatest vulnerability. Welcome to Earth's Dark Secrets. What I'm about to reveal is how Pakistan's wealthiest province became a watery graveyard in 72 hours, and why luxury housing developments built on supposedly dry riverbeds became death traps for the elite.
And the catastrophic floods continue to wreak havoc in Pakistan as well. 820 people in the country have lost their lives this year in various rain-related incidents. On Friday in eastern Pakistan, floodwaters hit the outskirts of the country's second biggest city, Lahore, and threatened to submerge the major town of Jang, the worst flooding in almost 40 years in that part of the country.
At 6:30 a.m. on August 26, 2025, the Ravi River, which had been practically bone dry for over 2 decades, suddenly exploded back to life with a vengeance. The river Ravi rose to alarming levels, with authorities warning of possible flooding in Lahore's low-lying areas, especially Shahdara. This wasn't supposed to happen. Punjab's disaster unfolded when the Lahore Development Authority issued building permits for luxury developments directly on the Ravi's historic floodplain, land that had been legally protected from construction for decades. Parkview Society wasn't just built near the river, it was constructed on the riverbed itself, using political connections to bypass environmental laws that specifically prohibited such development. As the Ravi River witnessed unprecedented surge, floodwaters breached the borders of Parkview Housing Society, inundating tail-end blocks and inflicting extensive damage to homes, furniture, and appliances. Punjab's nightmare wasn't caused by one river. It was an assault by 3 major waterways that had been artificially controlled for decades. The Chenab River struck first and hardest. The Chenab River expected to swell to dangerous levels at Head Trimu as meteorologists detected water flows that defied every historical prediction model. 991 villages were completely submerged by Chenab's fury alone. Just think about that number. Nearly 1,000 entire communities, schools, mosques, markets, homes, vanished beneath churning brown water in a matter of hours. The Sutlej River joined the assault from the south, drowning 361 villages across 6 districts. 70,000 livestock, buffalo, cattle, goats, that was entire family fortunes, had to be evacuated in desperate nighttime operations. Then, of course, came the Ravi, the river that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. The localities suffered due to flood included Shafiqabad, Farrukhabad, and Talat Park near Shahdara Bridge and Theme Park near Multan Road and Park View. For 15 years, the Ravi had been reduced to a concrete drainage channel. Families had forgotten it was ever a real river. Children had never seen water flowing through Lahore's eastern districts. But on August 27th, when India released massive volumes from upstream dams, the Ravi remembered what it used to be. Pakistan was already drowning under the heaviest monsoon rains in decades when India's dam releases turned manageable flooding into an apocalyptic deluge. Water level in Sutlej River reaches 208,973 cusecs. This measurement shattered every previous record and overwhelmed drainage systems designed for flows 1/3 that volume. The water came as a wall of destruction that moved faster than evacuation orders could be issued. Nabil Javed, the head of the Punjab government's relief services, said that 481,000 people stranded by the floods have been evacuated, along with 405,000 livestock. But those numbers hide a logistical nightmare that revealed the true scale of this disaster. 405,000 livestock evacuated. In rural Punjab, livestock is property as well as survival. Families who lost their buffalo lost their livelihood, their milk supply, their economic future. Rescue teams had to choose between saving humans and saving the animals that humans depend on for survival. Many seeking shelter in over 300 relief camps in Punjab. Families literally refused to leave flood zones because they couldn't abandon their animals. The most shocking revelation emerged in Lahore's most expensive neighborhoods. Park View Society, where houses cost between 5 and 15 million rupees, was built directly on the Ravi River's historic floodplain during the decade when the river appeared permanently dry. Water overflow reportedly submerged parts of the society, prompting urgent evacuations. Real estate developers had marketed these properties as waterfront luxury, but the waterfront was supposed to be decorative, not destructive. Residents who paid premium prices for riverside mansions discovered their million-rupee investments were actually expensive boats. The society's management has pledged compensation, yet residents are demanding full property value restitution for homes that may never be habitable again. Ironically, families who could afford the most expensive housing in Lahore ended up in the same relief camps as subsistence farmers. Floodwaters affected over 1.46 million people across the province, making this Punjab's largest displacement crisis in decades, 1.46 million people. This is more than the entire population of Estonia relocated in less than a week. The province of Punjab also suffered extensive flooding along the Indus and Chenab rivers, which has displaced more than 2,300 families and damaged cash crops across thousands of acres. Punjab produces 90% of Pakistan's rice exports and 75% of its wheat. When thousands of acres of cash crops were destroyed, it wasn't just Punjab that was affected. It was Pakistan's ability to feed itself. Federal and provincial authorities are leading the response, having mobilized over 2,000 personnel for rescue operations that stretched every emergency system beyond its designed capacity. 355 relief camps were established, but they filled faster than they could be expanded, around 600,000 people in Punjab, who were moved from inundated areas. Around 450,000 animals needed immediate care, creating a secondary humanitarian crisis. 72 veterinary camps for displaced livestock. 6,656 people required immediate medical attention. 90,348 people needed emergency transportation to safety. Sialkot, famous for manufacturing cricket bats and soccer balls exported worldwide, saw 395 villages completely underwater. The industrial district that supplies sports equipment to international markets became an inland sea. Jong lost 127 villages. Multan, Punjab's ancient cultural capital, watched 124 villages disappear beneath the Chenab's assault. In Muzaffargarh, authorities made the devastating decision to deliberately breach riverbanks to save urban centers. They sacrificed rural communities to protect cities. Punjab alone has confirmed 165 deaths since the monsoon season began in June, with the majority occurring during the catastrophic August flooding events. 584 people required emergency medical treatment for flood-related injuries across Punjab. Many suffered from near-drowning incidents, hypothermia from prolonged water exposure, and crush injuries from collapsed structures. It's disturbing how quickly Punjab's controlled rivers reverted to their original destructive patterns. The Ravi, reduced to a seasonal drain for decades, housing societies along the Ravi River were submerged, prompting residents to leave their homes. Water has reclaimed territories that urban planners assumed it had permanently abandoned. The flooding also coincided with harvest season for rice and cotton, Pakistan's two most valuable cash crops. Farmers lost not just their current income, but next year's planting capital. As of August 31st, 2025, the latest flooding wave has killed 30 additional people this week alone, bringing Punjab's total monsoon casualties to devastating levels. Emergency coordinators report that 3,500 people were rescued in Vehari district in just the past 48 hours, while 1,200 more families required emergency relocation as rivers continue surging beyond safe levels. Contaminated water supplies threaten disease outbreaks in overcrowded relief camps. Destroyed infrastructure will take months to rebuild. Lost agricultural productivity will affect Pakistan's food security well into 2026. Punjab's flood disaster reveals a sinister and evil truth about modern Pakistan. The province that generates the most wealth became the most vulnerable to environmental collapse. Dense populations, intensive agriculture, and luxury developments built on floodplains created a perfect storm of human vulnerability. The rivers that made Punjab prosperous for centuries have now become instruments of its devastation. And this is just August 2025. Pakistan's monsoon season typically extends through September. The three rivers that devastated Punjab remain swollen, unpredictable, and potentially lethal. Officials have been carrying out a huge rescue operation that may continue for weeks, as remote villages remain inaccessible and thousands of families face an uncertain future. The 600,000 evacuees can't return home because their homes no longer exist. Pakistan's richest province has become its newest humanitarian crisis zone, and the rivers are still rising. Thanks for watching Earth's Dark Secrets, where we expose the hidden realities behind our planet's most devastating disasters. If this investigation revealed something the mainstream media won't tell you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us uncover the stories that authorities don't want told. Hit the bell so you never miss our in-depth analysis of the disasters that reveal our planet's dark truths.